All right. Hey, behind every investment is a rock solid valuation. Today's guest founded and started the firm that does exactly that. Sam Louise of Standard Valuation Services. Welcome, my friend, to the GO4CEO channel. How are you?
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Awesome, brother. Hey, man, it's really cool. Obviously, we're Chicagoland kids, and we're kind of in the mix, and we're moving and shaking. And a couple months ago, right, you saw me at a restaurant, and we've been connected on LinkedIn. So I'm super excited to have you on the GoFCO channel because one of my dreams was starting this channel to bring guys like you, right, guys that have put the sweat equity into building a business in different areas, and sharing, okay, well, how did you start it? What's going on? Like, what are some of the mindsets, the leadership skills? You got cool things back in your background from licenses to accreditations and the Jimmys there, stuff like that. So we're going to talk about Standard Valuation Services and what was your mindset of starting it and where did that come from? So take us through that initial journey of what was the thought and the ideation of that part.
Yeah, great, John. Thanks. So I was a finance major at Millikan University. I was there, a year, not to starting at the beginning here. Got out of school, and I determined early that school kind of wasn't for me. So I went to work at an appraisal shop, and while I was working there, I learned the business, and I was pretty decent at computers. And I had that, what do they call it, the entrepreneurial seizure. I'm like, you know what, I could do this on my own. I always had that idea that I could run my own shop, and like you, growing up playing sports, I was always a natural leader. So fast forward, worked there for a while, started Standard Valuation Services in 2013. It was, just, I knew it was the right time, and I could, I wanted to create an environment where it was good for the employees and we were serving our customers to the best of our ability, and a place that you could, you know, succeed at life, and have a good work environment as well. So that's kind of the foundation of what, why I started Standard Valuation Services. Obviously, the appraisal component, delivering to the customers, all that good stuff that goes with running a business. That was kind of after the fact, but yeah, I had good people around me. I'm like, you know what, it's now or never. I didn't really know how to be a business owner at the time, but I'm like, you know what, I'll start now and take the deep dive, and I'm glad I did.
Well, you and I have a similar track, right? I started to college, I graduated high school early, and then went that route, but didn't exactly work out. Started in a business as well. So, but you tended to hear, I'm hearing maybe a mentor of sorts that taught you the business and kind of get you into the rhythm of everything that you started to learn. So, what were some of the dynamics that you picked up on, and how did you start to really dive deeper? Because obviously, if there was a job that you were doing, that's great. And you learned
Mhm.
that really well and you mastered that. But where did you start to pick up on some of the nuances of the business? Was it that owner, or did you start to look for mentors within the industry?
A little bit of both. I worked for a gentleman. He was a super smart guy. Learned a lot about the profession, how to value things, how to be an appraiser. And then on the other side, from a leadership perspective, I think I learned kind of what not to do, almost how to treat people. And if it was, that's kind of where I formed the basis of how I would run my company if given the opportunity. Like, we're going to treat people like this. We'll put people in a position here. Just kind of, started getting ideas on how I would run things differently from that aspect. And then once I had once it really started gaining some traction, I went outside to the industry and, started getting in networking groups. Started, I have some great mentors in the industry who've had businesses for a long time, that instead of, keeping myself siloed off, lean into the industry and form relationships with those people, and kind of emulate and learn from those, that came before me. So it was a little bit of both.
Now, did you start also, I guess, thinking, all right, hey, one day I do want to start my own thing. It's in the same industry. Did you start to maybe kind of keep some of those contacts that you saw the current owner that you worked for as valuable, connections, or did you form other ones that were similar in similar spaces so that when you would launch your thing, you would have kind of a nice base of people to work with?
Yeah, I actually had I kept some of the relationships at the previous the gentleman I worked for. He was actually perfect timing. He he exited the industry, so I kept some of those relationships. So I, was starting on first base instead of kind of in the dugout. So I had some of those relationships there, and then I was able to, yeah, go out there and seek like kind, customers and relationships and just build it from there. So I did, it's a little luck too. Timing is, everything. So just not wasting a good opportunity, and then just hard work going out there and looking for those other relationships. And I've had some good people that have stuck with me through you know, the bumps that come. And yeah, I've had great relationships since the beginning, since day one.
All right. So commercial real estate appraising, right? It's kind of a different animal, right? It's not necessarily only the comps of residential world, right? Where a house was sold on Oneida Street. There's three other houses. They're all kind of similar, three bedrooms, all that type of stuff. There's complexity to commercial real estate. And obviously then we could talk about some of the business evaluation and some of the other things that you've developed. But what were some of the ways that you learned and things that you picked up on? Okay, hey, here's a nugget in the commercial space that I need to really pay attention to, and how that started to become something that you created in the standard valuation services company that you provided.
That's a good question. I don't know if there's an actual specific or any nuggets, but just learning from your mistakes. And I mean, you're going to make mistakes along the way. And from a valuation standpoint, scope of work, kind of designing and going about valuing a property or project, and just when you do make an error, or it wasn't done exactly the way the client was expecting, learn from it, and then you're not going to make that mistake again. Maybe you'll call the client and the borrower or whoever's involved in the deal and do a little more discovery, and just taking those mistakes that you make and kind of learning from them. I think that's the willingness to learn is something that's super. We're still learning every day, just from how we run our business, how we design our business from a valuation standpoint. So being able to turn those mistakes into positives and learn from the mistakes, I think that kind of that mindset is what is. I don't know if that answers your question. That kind of what put us, that put us on.
Towards that direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, and look, my also thought is there's got to be some subjectivity and some objectivity to this thing, right? People are always saying, well, how do you know you're evaluating it properly? And a lot of times it's right. Well, does the marketplace, is it willing to pay this, or does that bank willing to finance it for that? That type of thing. But what are some of those nuances, I guess, that we can go a little bit deeper?
So the, not to be an appraisal nerd, but I'll go into that mode real quick.
Yeah.
From an appraisal standpoint, you're really just reporting what the market tells you. It's pretty black and white in theory. It should be black and white. Where I think there is a little nuance and subjectivity is just asking the right questions and solving the right problem. I think some appraisal firms, they're doing great work, but they're answering the wrong problem or solving the wrong problem. They're getting data and kind of they get tunnel vision instead of, our job is to report what happens in the market. So the only way you're going to learn what happens in the market is to get out there and talk and rub elbows with people like borrowers, property owners, all different types of people. So I think that's where, kind of, I don't like to use the term art, but the art comes in is just, learning what questions to ask and then solving the right problem.
Neat. So, obviously, you learned the industry, you got that entrepreneurial itch, like you said, and started to think to yourself, okay, hey, I can do this, I can go on my own. What were some of those first steps? Did you have to, join up with a good attorney to get the incorporation? Did you already have maybe an accountant in the family's hemisphere or network? Who are some of those people that you put together at the table to help you with standard valuations?
Thinking back now, going back to my first
Making you
call,
think.
yeah, making me think. I'm a ready, what is it, ready, fire, aim type person. So I was moving fast. I
Yeah.
had my attorney still with me to this day. He was you know I've known him since I was in second grade, lifelong
Oh,
friend,
wow.
brilliant person. So he was there to help me. MBA, super smart guy. He still acts as a consultant. He's been a rock for me there. So the attorney was one, and then just other I started reaching out to other people I know that had successful businesses too, family members, other friends, other anybody I could that would get in front of me. Just, hey, what are the next steps? Kind of how do I have to do? Because like I said, it's not. I'm not an MBA. Didn't go to school and wasn't. It's like you learning to become a business owner on the fly is tough. So yeah, the attorney, just a couple other mentors in the beginning, and um, yeah, that was kind of it. I mean, the Jimmy, and he's done incredible work with how, helping me design the business and helping us get to where we are today.
Well, it's good people around you, right? A lot of people try to do it all alone. And obviously, with AI and some of the things that we have tools nowadays in 25, you could probably, yeah, in a semblance of ideas, put something together, right? But how powerful is it that you had this guy, Jimmy, you had obviously the background of where you worked with. And then I know off camera, you mentioned your brother and some people that probably, propelled and pushed you to do great things. The family. Did you mention right now that you have family that also owned businesses?
Oh yeah, I have other uncles that have had successful businesses, and I've always looked up to them and just um, leaned on them for business advice here and there when they make time for me. Yeah, just surrounded by people. People are the most important thing in any endeavor. It's just in life. Your relationships are everything, and I've been fortunate to have just unbelievable people around me. And you got to treat people this, you got to treat people good too, because it's a two-way street. So, you're going to make mistakes, but in the beginning, people were just willing to help, and I was willing to listen. So, like goes back to that, there's going to be ups and downs, and you just have to learn from the downs and keep pushing through. So, yeah, it's great to have a support staff or support network around you.
No, that's great perspective. I mean, I think a lot of people, again, don't go at this by yourself, right? Put a right team together. Talk to some people in your family, in your network. Reach out to some people cold and start to ask questions. Experts, it's funny. Success breeds success, but there's success leaves clues also. And a lot of people that are successful, in my opinion, they want to share. They're like, I don't want to keep this to myself. There's a mechanism of a human being that wants to be gracious and share. So I'm sure now that you've been 12 years in the business, there's probably some young bucks out there trying to get market share. And every once in a while, you may talk to them, right, and share the ideas and things that they could do, because ultimately there's enough business for everybody. But so let's get into you get your first few clients and deals. What are you thinking, and how are you trying to treat money? Because I don't know if you had a salary plus commission on the first job, but obviously now you own your own business. So every dollar that comes in has to be appropriated somewhere and positioned so that it could help you not only live your personal life, but build your business. So, what were some of those dynamics and what did you start learning?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think I have the benefit, honestly, of coming in when I did and getting in right before the downturn. Still living at home during the downturn. I started in 2005, so that's when I started appraising at the end of 2005. So I had a couple years in before the downturn, and I just kind of I don't know if that's what triggered it, but I'm pretty conservative from a business standpoint with money. So it kind of taught me like in the back of my head still a little bit. It's like you live through that. It's like, hey, this is what could happen. So from an early standpoint, I was always conscious about profit and making sure my margins were there, not overspending and trying to grow things organically. I wasn't the plan wasn't to take in outside capital and try and grow this thing as fast as I could. It was always kind of organic and slowly. So from just treating money, I've always kind of I'm getting better with that and learning to leverage, and obviously have a little bit of debt on the company as we expand, and some of the growth we've had in the last couple of years are a result of me learning to be learning more about money and being more comfortable with taking calculated risk. So yeah, in the beginning, I was always very conscious and kind of conservative. I think that ties back to, you know, from it's funny because I'm more of an aggressive person. And I like to take chances and I risk, but with money and business, it was always I think a lot of it just stems from that downturn. Being in an office building, seeing these people have 401ks, and I remember people pushing copiers down the hall, and just like businesses closing overnight in September 2008. I never, it's like one of those, you remember where you were when 9/11 hit. You remember certain things, the Bulls won the championships, all these things. And I remember that one like sticks in my head vividly.
Yeah, no, and those are experiences that are milestones, and they help carve the way that you kind of progress and do things. So in 2013, right, is when you started standard valuation.
Yep.
So,
October.
obviously the first few years, it's no joke, right? You got to put in that blood, sweat, and tears. What kind of hours were you working? And did you take the same work ethic from, being an employee into an entrepreneur, or did you do what some entrepreneurs do, which is like, hey, I own my own business. I get to do whatever I want, whenever I want, right? And have that type of attitude. So what were some of the success tips that you could share with the Go4CEO community of moving from employee to entrepreneur?
I think in the initial, in the beginning, I was working, nonstop. I was putting in hours. When I wasn't working, I was thinking about the business constantly. And then I did have that moment where it's like, hey, I got things a little stabilized. Now I'm, my own boss. And hey, I could golf a little more, go do things and enjoy myself. I'm not an employee. So there was that window there for a couple of years where, looking back, I wish I would have probably, you know, hit it a little harder on the business side. And then I got more serious about it. I just had, you keep reevaluating and seeing where you're at. I think that's super important. Just making time to be aware and see, hey, this is where I'm at. What am I after? Where do I want to go? And I just had a moment there where it's like, you know what? I don't want to waste this opportunity. 2015, I started in 2013, about 2015, 2016. That's kind of when I got more serious about being a business owner, and made that shift from, having the job, being an appraiser, starting my own business, in founder mode. And then, what, I want to change my mindset where I'm going to be this successful business owner. So that was kind of the switch.
Okay, so 2, 3 years into it, you start to say to yourself, "Hey, I'm not just going from employee to solopreneur.
Yeah.
I'm going to start to build a real business, right?" So, was this the part where you started to then bring on employees, or did you start to say, "Okay, hey, I need a person to do this, and I can't do everything in the business, right?" Type of thing, so that you can grow. What were some of that dynamic?
Yeah, I had a couple early employees that were great, that are still with me to this day. I mean, they're rock solid rocks of this company. They embody all of our core values. I mean, they're couldn't have done it without them. And then it's been slow. Professional services. It's not like we've had exponential growth every year, but we've done it slowly. And yeah, hired a few people 2016, 2017. Had hired a few more in 2019. Kind of what we would call a big hiring initiative right around there. And then COVID hit. And then it's been pretty steady after that, where we're bringing in 1 to 2 to 3 people, every so often. So, yeah, it gets to the point where, just you realize that you don't have the bandwidth to do certain things, and then just offload things you're not good at, try and complement yourself. That's a mistake. I've, not to go off topic, but I always had this idea where I want to complement and have somebody that complements my weaknesses. You don't want to get somebody who's not aligned though with your core values. Somebody can be different from you, complement you, but you still have to have that common ground where you're on the right, you're aligned, and you have the right, that they understand the core values and they embody them like you do.
Okay, so look, I've heard hire slow, fire fast. You're on a great topic there. Let's go deeper. So, how do you find that out? Is it taking them out a few times? Are you calling their network and references? What are some of the things that you have evaluated and thought of as your process to be able to find if it's a good culture fit?
I mean, we have a pretty good, you know, talent acquisition process in place. We have a great team around us. We do conversations, obviously. We ask certain questions. We have personality tests, obviously, just job behaviors tests. You could do everything right. There's still a component that you don't know until they're in the business and seeing everybody. People can interview well, but I think over time we've just, built up information, and you have your criteria, and you know which questions to ask, and if there's red flags, you got to be willing to walk away. I see the best in everybody, so it's kind of, they're just, you have to have the discipline. And that's why I have people, obviously I'm doing it for me too, helps, that are more objective. You have to be willing to walk away if it's not the right situation either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but how do you find that, right? Is it job category, Sam, or is it actual KPIs that they're showing you, or are you finding numbers that say to you, okay, hey, this person isn't working, or is it feedback from, other employees and other teammates?
I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah, we definitely, we track metrics, and we do one-on-ones, and just really listening to the employees and the people, and say, it's because it's not going to be beneficial and being upfront, and just be willing to have conversations, just the tough conversations that people don't want to have. Um, Listening to what they're telling you, and it's not going to be beneficial for the company or them as an individual if they're in a spot where they're not excelling. So it's a little bit of the you could see it in the numbers most of the time. Um, but on the other flip side of that, you have employees that are great, but it's just eating away at them. It's not fulfilling work. So that's where the
Mm,
conversation piece, we do employee engagement, twice a year, where we send out surveys. And we call it, if it comes back, we call it a flight risk. If it, the data comes back where it's like, hey, this is really pulling on me. Now it could be something else too that's not pertaining to work. That's why I think it's important you check in with your employees. It could be, there's a family member that's sick. There's something weighing on me that's not on the job. So I think that's what's been great here, and we've had low turnover. Is just we're willing to have those conversations, and kind of, we want to know about how our employees feel and how things are going. So yeah, it's been good.
well, it sounds like to me you've been a leader that's been not just interesting but interested, right? In kind of your people and where they're at, and is their personal life doing okay? Do they struggling with anything? And gosh, I mean, obviously, I have three daughters, so I can ascertain that there's always something that comes up. There's either games or sickness or some that comes up that is stressful, or just $1,000 bill that you didn't expect for something that came up. Braces is always a good thing. That's a $6,000 bill there. So, but awesome stuff. So tell us a little bit about just I guess the dynamic of now being more of a mature business, right? 12 years in. What is some of the things that you're thinking about standard valuation, and where you're headed, and maybe even the verticals that you have now, that you started with commercial real estate appraising, but now I think you do business valuation and some other aspects.
Yeah, we're in a good spot. We're trying to diversify. We went through our first acquisition last year, fourth quarter of 2024. So historically, we've done a lot of appraisals for lending purposes. A little bit of business valuation work for lending primarily. Um, and so we brought in a vertical where we diversified and got more into consulting, and kind of doing some work for attorneys and litigation support work. So that's been great. And the plan is to continue to grow and diversify. And we've been doing more government services work, won some contracts there, getting into more right of way work. So just trying to diversify there, and then just internally just trying to cultivate leaders to get that management level set where it's solid, elevating people. And because everybody has the capability of going beyond where they're at now, so it's like that's what I'm trying to do, is elevate people and make people better so they can make people better. And then it's just that flywheel snowball effect, where internally it's people are elevating, and that'll just make for a better company in the end. So internally, we're doing some great stuff trying to get that management level set and elevate people. Get myself into constantly learning. Back to your point, it's like you have to keep growing as a leader too. I don't know everything, so I lean on people like you, and even learning stuff in conversations like this, and connecting with people, having willing to learn and be humble and try and get better every day. And that's kind of one of our core values here, is just committed to excellence, and keep elevating the bar, and keep getting better.
Yeah, and until we're 6 feet under or ashes, I mean, there's always an opportunity to grow, right?
You get one shot at it, right? You get one
Yeah,
shot, and you got to, that's the way I live it. You got to make the best of it. You try to. You don't want to waste it.
I love it. I love it. So, what is a strategy that you used? Obviously, when you start to diversify the services and you kind of take your eye off the initial prize that started the whole business, commercial real estate appraisals, you get into business valuation, and now you're getting into this consultancy with attorneys. What was the transition? Are you evaluating it as, hey, my client is asking for this need, so we can develop another piece of the puzzle for them? Or is it, hey, I found something in the marketplace that I really feel our talent can grow into?
Little bit of both. I mean, having that's why it's so crucial connecting with people. You get feedback, or people, hey, there's a void in the marketplace for X, Y, or Z, and then does it align with who we are? Can we do that? Is it, then you got to go back and do your marketing and research and see, is it a vertical worth exploring? Is it our fit? Do we really, you know, do we know that business? You got to stick to what you're good at, right? So, can we transfer some of our the things that we do well, and does it fit in that vertical, or in that space? So it's a little bit of both, actually.
Nice. All right. So when you're making the valuation of a different segment of your business, is it profitability? Do you commit a certain amount of dollars to it and time that you say, hey, if this doesn't work in 90 days, we're going to exit out? Or are you willing to do the long haul because you've done enough evaluation, i.e., right, of where you're going to go? What's your thought process on that?
Yeah, it's long haul here. The vision, it ties to the vision of the company. So it's, if we're you have to be willing to cut your losses. Don't get me wrong, on certain small initiatives, but if we've put resources behind it and we see it um as a vertical we want to get into, then we're gonna do our best. And we've already made the decision that it's something we want to be in long term. Because like I said, the we're not looking to exit right now in this next 3 to 5 years. And that we're not in that phase here. So everything we do is kind of positioning us for, that 10-year vision down the road. So yeah, but you do have to be willing to cut your losses. If something's not working, you might have to tweak it, adjust, you learn on the fly, and be willing to, admit where you had blinders on. Things aren't going the way you want them to, but you still in the back of your mind have that, it's going to work out in the end, that mentality. So you got to get through those humps, and that's kind of the mindset we have, is we have this vision and we're going forward. But yeah, you have to be willing to adjust.
All right. All right. Well, I did catch a little nugget there. You said early or late last year in 24, you did your first acquisition. That's about an 11-year-old company doing their first acquisition. Was it a bolt-on? Was it a strategic, partner that you saw, oh, hey, you could bring them into the fold of standard valuation? What was the mindset? And then where are you thinking? Is there opportunity through growth of acquisition, or still organically through some of the verticals of business that you're looking to grow into?
What was the first part of that question, John? Was it the?
So I noticed that you said you acquired a business. What
Mhm.
was that like, and what was the reason behind it?
So, like, I go back to being conservative. It's always been organic, and then I had a couple good relationships where this opportunity presented itself. But before the opportunity presented itself, I've always, I knew what we have to do. We had to diversify. We're too concentrated in the lending work, and doing some of the things we've historically done. We've mastered it, though. We're really good at it. Have a good space in the marketplace. So I knew we had to diversify, and then this opportunity popped up, and I'm like, this is our chance to, take that next step to where we need to elevate, and start, hey, we could do this. I know we have the people here, and I have the stomach to go through this process, acquire this company. So that was a no-brainer, that we wanted to get in this space. And has it gone perfectly? No. Am I glad we did it? Have there's been a ton of opportunities since we've pulled it off? Absolutely. And then, to the second part of your question, um, some of the growth will be organic. Certain verticals that we're built for, we have it set up. There's no reason to go out there and acquire, and we could pour fuel on the fire internally and grow it that way. And then there's still a couple more down the road. And if as we expand geographically, not looking to take over the country or anything, have this dive into the vision, the Midwest footprint, delivering the best commercial real estate experience in the Midwest. That's our mission statement. So there will be a few more down the line where there's strategic acquisitions going that route.
Okay. Well, look, I mean, that's exciting stuff, and it's just yet another level to the business, right? And things that you start to learn. You as a leader, have you been able to or ever been interested in like joining mastermind groups? Are you a part of a peer group within the same industry? Or, I know that there's the Y Combinators and all these types of things and Vistas of the world. Are those things that you've strategically been a part of, or have you all always just kind of had a tight knit group that you've relied on as feedback?
No, I'm part of Vistage. I've been a member of Vistage for 4 years now, 5 years. That's been great. Some other organizations, but I think as you're able to pull things from different industries and talk to different professionals. If you stay close knit, it's like, hey, me and John are, we're guys growing up. It's like, how far are we going to get? You have to expand your horizons and talk to smarter, different people in bigger industries, and that's been a game changer. Like learning from them, knowing what you can apply, having the sounding board. I have a great network, but that's been I couldn't have pulled this off without having, exposure to networks like that. Absolutely.
No, that's awesome. And what kind of commitment do you have? Is that, would you say, they say the top level CEOs read about 60 books a year is kind of a stat out there. And that's impressive. But from a small and medium-sized business owner that is wearing the hats and obviously in the business and on the business, what are some of the commitments of time I think people would love to learn? Vistage, how long does that take? Is it a monthly commitment? Are there webinars and industry seminars that you go to? What kind of time commitment and maybe even capital commitment do you assess on a yearly basis to do so?
60 books is a lot, John. My goal this year was 24, and I'm not going to hit 24. 60 books is a lot, but the Vistage in particular, it's one day a month. You get what you put into it too. So I'm networking and leaning on other people within that group, outside of that one day per month. But there's no other than the one day monthly meeting. There's no there's no other time commitment. But having that day out of the office to just think about your business, think strategically, take a break, is super powerful. So even if you're not in a group, to have that day or set aside some time on your calendar, weekly or monthly, to kind of think about your business or think about yourself, take the inventory, back to that awareness piece. That's critical.
Awesome, awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, 60 books is a lot, but
A
it's
ton.
cool to hear that you've got 24, and hopefully the 4A formula, Untangle Any Challenge, and Think Like a CEO will be a part of the group of 24. Maybe in 26 you'll think about
It's on
that.
the list. It's on the list for sure.
Awesome, awesome. Another plug of the book. Excited. October 6th that comes out. Go4CEO channel and community. And by the way, subscribe to the channel. I'll kind of take a quick break here and be a part of the community that's growing. The 4A formula community, the Go4CEO community, actually on one of the services, it's called the Boardroom Expanders, or I forgot what I named it already. That's so weird. But it's that mindset of being able to bring in this advisory board scenario with small to medium-sized businesses that the Go4CEO brand is starting to grow. So I love this stuff because it's really cool how you were an employee and you took yourself into a solopreneur scenario, and then man, you've built a real business now with employees, with strategy, with different segments of the business, and it's really exciting. So, what are some personal things that you do? I don't think I've asked this question in a while, but what are some personal things that you do, either with your family, beyond the business side of things, to recharge yourself?
Oh man, I'm a fun guy. I think I'm a fun guy. I like to have fun. I mean, I have a great family, a network around me. We travel. I have 3 kids too. I have 2 girls that are older, and my youngest son is 4. So we're spending time with them. Family is the most important thing to me. Anybody who knows me knows that. Going on trips, but just that quality family time, and you know that time with them is the most precious time. So just connecting with the family, it recharges me, honestly. The Sunday dinners, cooking for them, barbecuing for my sister. I'm the oldest of 5, my sisters, and my brother-in-laws, my mom and dad come over, just all that good, the relationships and the family time for me are that's why I do it, just to be able to be that rock in my family, have everybody there and connect with them. It's like that's priceless.
That's awesome. Well, and it's really neat to hear that you've been able to keep that nucleus of your siblings, and then also now add into your own personal family that you've grown and your parents and stuff. What are some of the secrets? I'm sure a lot of people. I know my wife has three other sisters, so one of four, and they're all spread out, right? Virginia, Colorado, New York, and it's tough, right? Because they all grew up in Franklin Park, Illinois, but now spread
Mhm.
out, and the family's now sprinkled everywhere. What are some of the secrets that you guys have done, maybe from your patriarch and matriarch parents, that have kept the nucleus so close?
Um, that's a good question. I think part of it is how we're wired, honestly. And then I know from my standpoint, just understanding that even your siblings they're different people. They're
Hmm.
different than you. So giving them a little grace and kind of um you communicate. We're not the greatest communicators. Some of us like to hash it out quick, and some of us, will more, we're slower and we don't communicate the same way. But I think getting things out on the table and just constant communication with them, just like any relationship, is ultimately what's kept us kind of close. So I don't know if that answers your question, but um, yeah, there's just you know getting stuff out on the table, I'd say, and not ignoring, letting things build up over time. Because there's families out there, they don't, they don't talk, and I'm super grateful that we're all super tight, and I think we've just had a it's instilled by my parents and probably their family members and parents. It's like, let's get it out on the table, and um, let's not let it turn into something that it doesn't need to be.
I love it. Well,
Because
conflict
family's tough,
resolution.
right, John? Family's tough.
It's
Nobody pisses you off like a family, like a family member. So it's like you have to remember that you have to, even you apply those same principles at your company and business. People are different. You have to be aware of that and accept, but still, it's a relationship and you have to work at it. So you have to,
yeah.
respect them and, approach it the same way.
Yeah, I mean, people let you down. People have your back when you didn't even realize that they would be that person. So people surprise you in so different ways. But that's part of the human nature, right? And interesting thinking, right? So when you think like a CEO, like you do, and you are, it's really interesting that you've taken. Not only were you the firstborn, but you took that leadership role. Once you started your business, you also thought about your personal life and how you can mix it in, and now you have three beautiful kids, and you still have the family stuff. So it's a cool dynamic, and yeah, it's not without its challenges per se, right? So
That's an understatement. Yep, for
interesting
sure.
stuff. So well, look, as we end our interviews, we like to go over CEO, which is client experience for C, engagement, and I'll share with you a little bit more on that, and then operational excellence, which is kind of the tools, the things that you've been able to use throughout the years, and now maybe using new AI tools and stuff like that. So for client experience, when it comes to standard valuation services and what you guys do, what your team and what your culture is all about, what is that client experience from a value proposition standpoint?
Oh, I mean, just taking those client insights and taking them back and analyzing them, trying to become better internally, enhance our process, and just having that loop where we take the client feedback, you know, come up with some internal solutions, get better as a team, and then kind of loop back, and next time around that we deliver something for the client, hopefully it's better. That's the thought. So just that constant feedback from the client, getting better, learning from your mistakes, and super focused on the client. I mean, that's what I always tell people. That's kind of that's how we built the companies. We were just sounds like we were willing to run through brick walls for our clients. They knew they could count on us. We'd call us at 2, 3 in the morning. Sam would be there. SVS would be there. And that's kind of something that's not on anything here. We do talk about that. Like, that's how I treat my relationships and friends too. Like, that's John calls me middle of the night or he needs somebody, like Sam and his team, they'll be there.
I love it. And what a great feeling that is too, right? So
Yeah.
when you find that service, that business, that person that has that type of mindset and can show it by their actions, you keep those close to you for the long term. So awesome stuff. So how about engagement? What are some things that you do, Sam? Like, are you a guy that takes your team on a retreat? Do you guys do webinars together, seminars? What are you doing with clients? Do you send out gifts at the holiday season? What are some of the ways that you engage with vendors, employees, clients?
All of the above. We're always trying to, you know, variety is the spice of life. Is that the saying? We're always
Yeah.
trying to do different things. We went to a pink, as we bring in new people, younger people too, it's like, what do they like doing as well from an employee standpoint? Went to a ping pong hall. We're doing, even just walks around the building, things that are, we give gifts to, pretty, I'd like to think they're nice gifts. One, work anniversaries, big, we try and do 10-year anniversary. We had a couple employees, we bought them Disney trips, and
Oh,
that
wow.
was, that's something that's just, you can't, obviously, if you're a massive company, you can't do that with everybody, but as a smaller, those are some of the things that you're able to take advantage of as a smaller company. So, we have quarterly outings, we have monthly outings. Last month we did, you know, it, some of these marketing companies and places, they do, it's like every day is like this at work, where they're doing fun stuff, but we try and, have, that's one of our core values, is to have fun. So we try and internally always sprinkle in an event here, and, a happy hour there, or, escape room, things like that. We'll do putt shack. So any suggestions you have, we'll try it. Retreat, we haven't been able to go, down the road. It would be nice to take people take families and plus ones, and go somewhere, but that's definitely something we want to do um, down the road. And then client engagement, always, I think the touch points, and, knowing your client too. Some clients want that, they want to build a relationship and do things, go to dinner, or, go to an event. And others just want, hey, you know, have a phone call once a week, and here's our pain points. Knowing their objectives, not assuming that, treat people the way they want to be treated, not the way you want to be treated. It's like knowing what they want in that discovery. I think that's key and unique, because some people don't want to be bothered to go to lunch or to dinner, or, I'll still do it here and there, just to, that's the way I am, get in front of people. But if you have a weekly phone call or an email checking up, that's more than enough for some clients.
Yeah, everybody's different. I mean, we just talked about family and how you have to be uniquely, keenly aware of what their personality is. It's really cool that you adjust, right? To, like, if you're a Cubs fan, you're a fanatic. Doesn't mean that everybody's going to want to come to a Cubs game with you, as an
Exactly.
example, right? So really awesome stuff. So the last one is operational excellence, right? Standard valuation services. You guys are uniquely positioned in the marketplace. You become masters of kind of what you do. Are there some tools, some things that you're using? Is there anything that you're evaluating that's new, that is kind of making you guys take it to the next level with the way you operate your business?
Mm, there's a couple pieces of software and things that we use. The one that I'll touch on, that I think would be beneficial for everybody that's looking to learn about, the way people are wired, and get that good engagement from your employees, is the culture index. You're probably familiar with it. We use that as a hiring tool and as a employee engagement tool. And so that just kind of gives you, a survey will show you how a person's wired, and then it's obviously Jim Collins, right person, right seat. It's like, you don't want to put somebody that's super, um, outgoing and social, and put them off in a corner, siloed somewhere, where they're not going to talk to people. It's as simple as that. But it's a tool we use, like I said, on the hiring side and the employee engagement side. That's been super helpful. And I think, if there's one thing, go check it out. It's pretty reasonable. It could, if you're looking to build a team, or, just kind of elevate your current team, it's a super useful tool.
I love it. I love it. Well, yeah, no, those are little keys and clues that are left behind by success. 12 years in business is no easy task. It's awesome that you still have another 10, 15, 20-year run in you. And at one point, maybe you decide to sell off and stuff, but it's really awesome that you built this network, the culture, and everything that you've been a part of it. So we appreciate you being on the Go4CEO channel. what are some of the ways that people can get a hold of you if they're all of a sudden like, man, I need a service within SVS and what we need to do? Are you the main contact? Do you want them going to info at something, or what's the best way to connect?
Or obviously the web page, you just Google it, Standard Valuation Services. There's, portal there that take you, you could connect there. LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. People from my team are on LinkedIn. You reach out to anybody on our team. They're more than happy to connect with you. Advice, um, you know, our general inbox is svs at svsappraisal.com. If you have an inquiry, definitely go there. But yeah, any questions, LinkedIn or the web page would probably be the best place to start.
All right, so I haven't done this in a while, but I love your background. We talked about it offline. What are the Jimmies all about? The shoes? Is it the shoes?
It
Like,
is the shoes. That's funny. That was a 10-year anniversary gift from two of the guys that have been, there's three of us that have been here since the beginning. So in 2020, that was an emotional day, actually. We see guys we're in the office more than most. So we're in here a lot. It's a great space. And before, it's crazy how quick 10 years go. So they got me customized shoes with the name of the company on there and kind of, a big sports guy. So that I wear those, I bust those out, very seldomly, special events here and there. Between those two though and my wife, they got me a half size too small. I don't know how that happened. So I do have to squeeze into them, but
uh,
yeah, that was a gift from my employees. That's I love those. I mean, that was really cool of them to do that.
That's awesome. There's a guy I follow, Ed Milet, and he talked about it, just taking the time, right? Because he was talking about balance and how we're always imbalanced, right? Especially if you're entrepreneurial, if you're a go-getter in life, you're always going to have imbalance either with family time or business time or personal time or workout time and all these types of things. So there's always sometimes some measure of imbalance. But he saw something that he had done 2, 3, 400 podcasts after he had set up a new kind of a room that he was in, and he looked at something like your shoes and he said, holy cow, it was a medal that he had won with one of his best friends at a golf outing. And he remembered the shot, the approach shot that he had on the fairway. He got it on the green, but then his buddy to win the tournament had to sink a 12-foot putt and he did it. And it's one of these medals that sat in the back of his, of his background of his for his Zooms and everything. And he said the other day in a part of talking about balance, he literally stared at that and goes, he invoked the emotions that came from that medal. Well, and it's so cool that you have emotions of 10 years of a cool business that your employees and your team and your family gave you these shoes that you bust out every once in a while. So that's a cool experience.
Yeah, it's a good reminder of, my uncle always said, there's no shortcuts. You're either born a genius or you work hard. And so I have to work hard. That's kind of a symbol of what consistency and hard work, and just a reminder to, celebrate the wins.
That's awesome. Well, hey, Go4CEO channel, this is yet another great interview. I love these podcasts. It's real people, not humongous names are on my podcast, maybe one day, but for now, I've just stayed true to, I love the guys like Sam Louise, right? And starting Standard Valuation Services and who he is in the marketplace, what he's done. He's employing people, he's giving real life opportunities to people and growing his business. So support him, reach out to him on LinkedIn, some of his people on the LinkedIn team as well, and all the things to reach out to him. You could connect with him if you need his services. So, Sam, thanks so much for coming on the Go4CEO channel. We appreciate you, and we'd love to have you back on next 18, 24 months and share with where SVS has gone.
Awesome. Really appreciate it, John. Good luck with everything. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.